focused and we should have your undivided attention with all the activities today, starting with our keynote speaker. So I want to welcome everyone that's here today. And without further ado, we'll get started. And I cannot say we'll get started without thanking Ms. Melder, without thanking Ms. Williams, without thanking Ms. Collins. It's easy to come in and see the production, but there's a lot of work behind the production. And so once again, thank you, Ms. Melder, thank you, Ms. Williams, thank you, Ms. Collins, and anyone else that had a part. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me? All right, hi guys. So today I'm here to let you guys know who will be introducing our speaker. So the person who's introducing our speaker today is a really dear friend of mine. A lot of you guys may know him if you participated in the science clubs at Head or at Rose Park. A lot of our students have worked with him at the Fisk Altitude Achievement Missile Team at Fisk and Rocketry. He was a person that when he found out we were having our Hidden Figures Fair, I had just a personal conversation with him about, some of the things that we wanted to happen. And he said, hey, I know the perfect person. And he reached out. He was the first person who made a contact to our keynote speaker. And once he made that contact and I got in contact with her, I realized that I knew her also. And that she was a person who was very key and influential in a lot of things that changed me as a person. And between my experiences with her and knowing him is the reason why I'm a teacher here. It's the reason why I'm a teacher in the first place. So without further ado, Dr. Brian Kent Wallace.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the students, the faculty, and the staff and administrators for having me here today. And I want you to notice that when I say my thank yous, I started with the students. Because what you may not realize is that the most important thing in all of this is you. The teachers wanted to do a program that would influence you and inspire you by the inspirational events that had taken place in the movie Hidden Figures, which is an actual historic event. In introducing you, rather than introducing our speaker, I want you to kind of have an understanding of who's about to speak to you. Dr. Renee Horton is an engineer at NASA. But let's relate that to the movie Hidden Figures. I was fortunate to ask to be a panelist in the showing of Hidden Figures, and I actually sat through the movie 4 times. And I noticed after each time I watched it, the audience applauded in the exact same places at several points in the movie. And one of the points in the movie that everyone applauded was when Alan Shepard made it into space. And I thought that that was very profound because they had all of the women who were the computers at NASA, all these black women, and they were in the room watching the event. There were people that were lining up in the streets to look at the reentry of Shepard to make sure that he lived through the reentry. And there were blacks and there were whites and there were just so many people of color of both genders, and they were looking up in space and they were cheering for this man who made it back, which put the United States on its path to being the leaders in space exploration. But their applause were sincere, and they were not motivated by the fact that this was a white man. These were blacks, whites, men, and women that were cheering for the United States, of which we are all members. It is that inspiration that I want you to bring to this room when you think about whom you are talking to. Because Dr. Renee Horton, who had attained her BS in electrical engineering at LSU with a minor in mathematics and a PhD in material science from the University of Alabama, is the lead materials and world engineer for the Space Launch System. The Space Launch System is a rocket that is going to propel the United States to another planet. Understand that we have been to a moon. No one has been to another planet. We are going to Mars. And Dr. Renee Horton is an integral part of the mission that will place us there. Our generation is building that rocket, but it is your generation that will colonize space. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Renee Horton.
Good morning. I am truly honored and also amazed to be standing here and looking at the future that will fly my rocket. I told him that was enough. He probably had some more stuff written on that paper, but I thought he had hit the most important point. The point was, I get to build the rocket, but it's your generation. It's somebody in this room that will actually fly the rocket. It is somebody in this room that will actually live on Mars based on the things that I got to do, that I got to dream and live. So first, I want to thank Dr. McShepard-Ray for having me here and for letting me disrupt your day. I want to thank all of you for attending school today and giving me your time. You could have skipped and did something else or hung out with your parents or went to the mall. But I'm so excited to have you here with me. Thank you. And next, thanks April. I was about to say Dr. Collins, but that's soon to come. And Dr. Wallace for even opening up this opportunity to me. I always take it very seriously when someone asks me to come and talk to the future. They sent me an email with some thoughts that have been gathered, and so I want to make sure I touch those points for you today. There were different questions that was asked, like, what do I do every day at NASA, and what's a day-to-day kind of thing, and I want to bust your bubble. Some of our jobs are really boring. And so NASA's really good about giving these complicated titles that make you sound really important, right? I'm the lead weld and metallic engineer for the Space Launch System. I always joke about the job, but the job itself is a very serious job. So one of the questions you guys asked was, what was my day-to-day? My day-to-day is going in and making sure that the rocket is being built to the regulations and the requirements that we have defined in the design. So when you get those instructions, when you're building something that you ordered out of the mail, I'm making sure that you actually, or those building the rocket, build to those instructions. That's what my job is. So my job may consist of coming in, going through the computer, going through paperwork, going out on the floor, looking at the hardware, looking at things that may not be right with the hardware. Now, that doesn't really sound exciting, does it? I know. So my boss allows me to come out and speak in the public. That's the fun part. So that's my day-to-day. Not anything exciting, right? You guys got everybody out of class for me, and my exciting is not that exciting after all. But that's what I do. I'm really excited about standing here, though, today, simply because I'm a product of what we called our gifted program in Louisiana, which is just what you guys here are, gifted. You all are gifted, and I'm just amazed I'm standing in the room with people that are probably smarter than me. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, guys. You probably are. And so for each one of you that said no, I want you to understand that because of where you are right now in your path doesn't mean that you're not smart, that you're not brilliant, that you're not good enough, that you don't belong. There are things that I can't do. Who can code? Yeah, so yeah, you're smarter than me, babe. I can't code. See, that's the thing. We always want to think about being, when people are saying that they're smart, that it means just overall. I'm good at something, my thing. I found out what my thing was, and I became good at it. I learned all of those things about my thing. Well, I can't code. And so if you were to put me in a class, in the coding class, I would actually be the dumbest person in the class. And you would be the smartest. So please, don't shortchange yourselves about just how smart you are. Other questions that were asked was about my path and how I got here. So I am a very non-traditional student. I graduated high school at 16 and started college. I didn't quite fit in because I looked 14 when I went to college, and so people were like, why is that kid here in college, right? So I was still dating in high school, and so I was still going to the high school football games and not the college football games or any of that. Well, I had joined the Air Force ROTC so that I wanted to be an astronaut. I had been dreaming about being an astronaut since I was 9. And I joined the Air Force ROTC. I was going to become a pilot, and then that was going to be my path to be an astronaut. I had worked it all out, hadn't thought of anything else either. At 17, I went in to do my hearing physical, and I failed it. And I was blown away because I didn't think I had hearing problems. But the Air Force said that I did, and that was that. I could no longer be in the Air Force ROTC. I could no longer be on a path to become an astronaut, and I didn't know what to do either. It was a little disturbing because I hadn't thought of anything else. I didn't know anything else. That was my whole path, and that's what I had been training myself to be. I didn't have any flexibility or adaptability at that time. Well, I ended up getting pregnant, getting married, in that order, sorry. Getting pregnant, getting married. I followed my ex in the military, and then we ended up divorcing, and then after we divorced, I had 3 kids. Well, 2, and then my daughter was born. I know, I was busy, guys. Don't be judging me. But when my daughter was born, I had 2 boys, and then my daughter came. And I remember the day she was born, and they gave her to me, and her eyes were open, and she was looking at me like, so what we gonna do now? I was looking at her like, you was a busy little something at a couple of hours old, but she had this intense stare that said, what are we gonna do now? What's our plan? And I realized right then that I needed to get myself back together, and I needed to change the world for her. I didn't want her to go through any of the obstacles I had gone through or have the doors closed simply because she was a girl or because she was black. So I went back to school when she was 2. So I went back to college now with 3 kids, a 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And I went every semester, year-round, and graduated in 2 years. So I graduated with my undergraduate degree from LSU. Go Tigers. I know I'm in Tennessee country, but y'all gonna have to bear with me. But I graduated with an electrical engineering degree and a minor in math. And I love math. I had the opportunity to meet the math teacher here. And I was telling him, abstract math and the history of math change the way you look at things. It changes the way you look at numbers. And I know you guys think that the history classes and all these things that you're doing are just things that are never gonna be. But if you open up your mind and your heart and your soul while you're taking these classes, and let them transform you. Let them ease into your mind and make those things happen for you. It was that class, actually my abstract algebra class, that changed the way that I looked at things. And when I had gotten the engineering degree, it made me want more. So I decided to do a PhD. Whoa. And I went and did this with the 3 kids. So I sat down with them and I said, this is the places I've gotten scholarships. Where do you think we could live and be okay? And where would you guys like to go? And you know, somebody wanted to move to Hawaii. That was so off the list, right? We ended up doing the University of Alabama. It was convenient for my family. We were able to drive back and deal with be able to see parents and be able to have a life. And so we moved up to the University of Alabama. Well, at the University of Alabama, it also allowed me to have my time at NASA, because I had NASA fellowships, and it allowed me to go work at the NASA Center. And probably 2 semesters in, it hit me. Remember the dream I had before? I was now living my dream. So one of the statements in the email I got was that you're afraid of failure and setbacks. The catch is, if I had been afraid of my failures and my setbacks and my mistakes, I would have never come full circle and had my dream come true of working for NASA. And I say that to say, things happen. Bad grades happen. Sometimes you didn't study properly. But before you give yourselves a round of applause for that, you have to understand that you have to be willing to take accountability for your failures and your mistakes and the things you have control over. Don't beat yourself up if somebody built a 10-foot mountain in front of you and expected you to climb it in 2 seconds. That's a little different. See, that's an obstacle. That's not a failure. And you don't have to climb it. You could always walk around it. Be mindful of that. So now that I was living my dream of working for NASA, even as a student, I was like walking around in like this bubble all the time, because I was like, I work at NASA, you know? And I was like really excited about it. And it was like, wow, all those things that had happened, and I still ended up here in the place I wanted to be. And this time I was doing it with 3 kids.